Chapter 2.4, Part 1, Sculpture. We're going to look at a variety of different media here within sculpture. Sculpture covers a lot of different things. We're in the 3 dimensions here, so it can be made out of a lot of different materials. Glass is quite popular these days, and the Palm Springs Art Museum had an amazing glass show a couple years ago. But that is something that is popular more because it's unusual and hasn't been explored fully in sculpture. So you do see that more frequently, and more people have equipment and access to making glass. Wax, that's used in the bronze casting process, but some people make just cast wax or wax sculpture, ice, plastic, neon lights, animals. Basically anything can go into a sculpture, including paint. But they're 3-dimensional, and I think I talked about this a little bit, and we'll get a little more into 3 dimensions again. But remember your elements and principles, they do separate where only a 3-dimensional work has mass, volume, or form. If it is a 2-dimensional, it has space. Okay, it can have implied form or implied texture or implied mass, but that's what you want to say. Okay, so we can walk around a sculpture. That's how we know it is a sculpture. We can't just stare at it from one angle. Well, that's not exactly true. And then sometimes we're immersed in an environment, which is often called an installation, but there are some other types. So it can be freestanding. Sculpture in the round is what you typically think of as like a bronze statue on a elevated platform, and you walk around it in a circle. That's a freestanding sculpture, or a pedestal in a museum. A lot of times that's the case. Relief is usually on a wall or hung on, either hung on a wall or etched into a wall. Ancient sculptures, a lot of times, with the Egyptians and so on, they would just carve it right into the wall. And so it protrudes a little bit, and we're going to look at those. It's easier to show than tell. Okay. So, these 2 terms are interchangeable, freestanding and sculpture in the round. Different textbooks use different ones. So in the round is a typical phrase. This particular one is in the round. A lot of things to say about Egyptian sculpture. As you know, we've talked about Egyptian artwork a little bit. Same style, more or less. It does evolve. I won't say it doesn't. But it's recognizable over 3,000 years. There's nothing else like it on Earth that lasts that long with a style. So when they're making sculptures, and this one's out of granite here, and this one is a 4,000-year-old piece. It's not from 1971 in our era. It's before the Common Era, BCE. It used to be before Christ, but they did change it because, there's a 30-some-year gap for the lifetime of Christ, or they felt that was too Western specific, so they changed it to Common Era. Okay, so sculpture of the Lady Senui, and we're looking at a 67-inch high sculpture, so that's over 6 feet, if I did my math right there, and 45 inches. It could be this depth instead of this width. It's not necessarily the way we're looking at it, the way it might be measured. So this longer measurement is from the edge here back, and then 18 inches wide from here to here. We're including the piece that she's on. That's not always the case, and this is the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. So it's a freestanding sculpture. It's designed to be seen from the front, though. It's frontal. But you could technically walk around it, even though it's put up against a wall. And you get a sense of the original granite here. Some of that texture is left there, and then she's sculpted out. And I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. See how those negative shapes are right here? It's not open between her arms, and it's not open between her feet, or sometimes it's their legs or whatever. And that is because the more you carve a stone piece hollow, the more chance there is for breakage. And you can see there are a fair amount of cracks on this already. But it's quite amazing over 4,000 years to be in one piece. But that is what the Egyptians were all about, was eternity. The afterlife to them had deep meaning, and they assumed that, with their religious beliefs, with the Ba-An-Ka, that the spirit would go on forever. So these sculptures are meant to last forever. So they're built in a style. Some of these stylistic details have to do with the permanence. So they're usually up very straight and upright, very uncomfortable looking, but the arms and legs are close to the body, and again, that's most